Your identity always leads. But what does it lead to? It leads to your behavior, something that you do, your habits. We always hear how it takes 21 days to break a habit or to build a new one. But I want to talk about the paradox here because it's not just about breaking or building habits, it's about your identity, your self image, who you see yourself as, and who you believe yourself to be. Your identity always leads. But what does it lead to? It leads to your behavior, something that you do, your habits. You have habits because they're a solution for something. Whether it's good habits or bad habits, every habit is usually a solution for something. For example, if you have a habit of dropping your keys right by the door every time you walk inside the house, that is your solution to staying organized or efficient. That way, the next time you leave the house, you know exactly where your keys are. You don't have to waste time tearing apart the house looking for your keys every time you want to leave the house. Another example would be every time I get in bed at night, I always have a habit of getting on Duolingo. That habit for me is my solution to being effective at the end of the day. Even though I want to get comfy and cozy, I still want to make sure that I'm being somewhat effective some way, somehow. And see, that habit was actually a replacement for a doom scrolling habit that I had. I used to doom scroll all the time. Every time I got in bed, I would get on social media, scroll aimlessly. And one day I was like, I don't like how that makes me feel. It doesn't make me feel effective. It doesn't make me feel good. I want to do something different. And that idea came up naturally to me. So then I was like, oh, you know what? Let me get on Duolingo instead. And that became my new habit. Now, see, even with the doom scrolling habit, I would get on social media because I was bored or because I wanted to avoid doing something that I knew I should have been doing. So doom scrolling was my solution, either for boredom or to avoid what I should have been doing in the first place. Now, those are examples of small habits, but this applies to what we perceive sometimes as larger habits. For example, addiction or alcoholism. They're not addicted to the habit. They're addicted to the solution that the habit of drinking brings. So when you have a habit and you're using it as a solution for anything, again, whether it's perceived as good or bad, if you don't identify with what you want, your habits are always going to reflect that. If you are struggling with depression or pain, anything, if you're identifying as that, then yes, everything out in your world is going to reflect that. When you're able to release what does not serve you, then you're automatically identifying as someone new. When you do that, then your behavior starts to change. Your habits start to change because your identity is going to be different. And see, this whole 21 day to change your habits or build, break habits, whatever, it's an idea that derived from one of my favorite books, Psycho-Cybernetics by Dr. Maxwell Maltz. And in that book, he's explaining how, he's a plastic surgeon, he's explaining how his patients, let's say someone comes in for a nose job, he's explaining how they come in because they want a nose job and they want to feel more confident. So that's why they're getting the nose job. And he starts observing their behavior over a 21-day period after they get their procedure done. And he's trying to determine whether or not their confidence is going to improve or not over those 21 days. In some cases, it does. Why? Because they start identifying as someone who is more confident. In other cases, it doesn't. Why? Because they're still identifying with someone who does not feel confident with themselves. So a nose job, if they're feeling self-conscious still, is not going to fix or solve anything because that's not who they identify as. So that concept or that idea from that book, it's not about behavior. It's not about things that you do. It's about self-image, who you see yourself as. So I know in the real world, we take that whole, okay, well, it's going to take 21 days to start building or breaking a habit, and then you need to continue on with it. That way you build momentum. Yes, that's true, but that's the paradox. because you can continue forcing yourself to build new habits. You can continue on with a 21-day plan or stick to 21 days of your new habit and continue going further and further. But if you've tried doing that before, you'll notice how it feels difficult. Or you'll notice how you fall backwards a little bit because you're not identifying as that newer version of yourself. You're not identifying with whatever it is that you want. So if you want real change in your life, don't just force yourself to change your habits. Change your self-image. Change who you believe you are first. Because if you don't, it's going to be easier for you to fall backwards into old patterns. If you really want to stick with a new routine or new habits because you want to better yourself inside first. Shift inside first. And when you do that, you'll notice that everything else, all of your habits, your behaviors, are going to naturally shift along with you. It's not going to feel forceful. You're not going to feel as much resistance because if you're already identifying as something, your behavior is going to reflect that. Whereas if we work backwards and we try to force a habit first before we believe or identify with that habit inside, it's going to feel a lot harder. So the key takeaway here is it's not how do I change my habits? It's what identity is driving my habits in the first place.